Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a massive $1.6 billion real estate deal that got the green light in Washington. But now 18 members of Congress are demanding answers, alleging that the whole approval process was corrupt from the inside out.
And this is the quote that really kicked things off. It's pulled directly from a letter sent to the Department of Justice. And notice, it's not just questioning a business decision. It's raising the alarm about potential corruption and what it means for the cost of housing for all of us.
So let's start with the accusation itself. This whole thing blew up because of an official letter from Congress. Their claim that the normal, impartial process for reviewing these giant corporate mergers was basically thrown out the window.
And you know, this isn't just a fringe complaint from one or two people. We're talking about a group of 18 lawmakers, led by some pretty big names like Senator Elizabeth Warren, all demanding a formal investigation from the DOJ. So here's the core of it. They're not just unhappy with the outcome. They're saying the entire process was tainted. The allegation is that powerful lobbyists used their connections to essentially rig the game and get the result they wanted.
Okay, so let's dig into the deal at the center of this firestorm. What exactly was on the table here? First thing you need to grasp is just the sheer scale of this. $1.6 billion. I mean, this wasn't some minor acquisition. This was a move designed to consolidate some serious power in the real estate world.
So the two players were Compass, a huge real estate brokerage, and Anywhere Real Estate, another massive firm. The deal was for Compass to buy out its competitor, which, as you can imagine, would totally reshape a big chunk of the market. And this is why it matters to you and me, to anyone outside of Washington. Lawmakers are warning that when you have less competition, it almost always hurts everyday families. It can mean higher prices and fewer choices when you're trying to buy or sell a home.
All right, this next part gets to the absolute heart of the accusation. It's the step-by-step breakdown of how the normal by-the-book process was allegedly sidestepped. So check out this alleged sequence of events. First, the DOJ's own antitrust chief, Gail Slater, says, "Whoa, hold on. We need a much deeper investigation into this merger." But instead of that happening, Compass apparently just goes right over her head to our bosses. Then they hire a very well-connected lobbyist, Mike Davis, to help push their case. And the final outcome? The merger gets approved, completely skipping that deep dive review the department's own expert had called for.
So let's be crystal clear on the key players here. You've got Gail Slater, the career official whose job it is to enforce these rules. Then there's Todd Blanche, her superior, who allegedly overruled her. And finally, you have Mike Davis, the outside lobbyist brought in specifically to influence the final decision.
Now, you might think a story like this would stay behind closed doors. Well, you'd be wrong. The fallout from this controversial approval spilled right out into the open, and it got pretty dramatic.
Shortly after the merger was given the okay, Gail Slater, the DOJ's top antitrust official, announced she was resigning. As you'd expect, her public statement was professional, diplomatic, all very standard stuff.
But then, literally minutes later, Mike Davis, the lobbyist for Compass, posts this. He takes credit not only for her hiring, but for her firing, and then caps it off with a good riddance. It was a jaw-droppingly public boast that seemed to confirm the very kind of backroom influence that lawmakers were so worried about. Meanwhile, the official line from the Attorney General was just a standard "thank you for your service," praising Slater for her work to protect consumers. The contrast between that polite farewell and the lobbyist's victory lap was, well, it was stark, to say the least.
So where does that leave us today? Well, these allegations are now fully public, and lawmakers are not letting it go. They are pushing hard for accountability.
They have officially put the Department of Justice on the clock. That letter they sent? It came with a deadline, March 4th, 2026, for a full, written response to all of their questions. And they are asking some very pointed questions. Things like, who really made the final decision? What conversations happened behind the scenes? And what's the real story with Gail Slater's resignation? In short, they want a full accounting of how this all went down.
And here's why lawmakers say this is about so much more than just one real estate deal. The fear is that this creates a playbook for any powerful company. If you don't like the decision from the experts, just hire a well-connected friend and go straight to the top.
And this really is the bottom line. This whole controversy isn't just about a merger. It's a test of the entire system. Are the antitrust laws that are supposed to protect consumers actually working, or can they just be bypassed by anyone with enough money and the right connections?
So, the Department of Justice is on the clock to provide some answers. But this whole case leaves all of us with a much bigger and maybe more uncomfortable question. When money and influence go head-to-head with regulation, who is really being protected? The answer to that is going to tell us a lot more than just the story of one real estate deal.